It is day 17 without a Speaker of the House of Representatives after Republicans unceremoniously fired the last guy, Kevin McCarthy, at the beginning of the month. And with the House yet again in session today, we got yet another day of abject, catastrophic failure by the Republican conference to meet the most basic, minimal requirements of governance. Today began with that man, Congressman Jim Jordan, as the Speaker designate. That's a mostly made-up title that just means the Republican conference voted him to be their nominee to be Speaker. But even by the standards of this already disastrous and humiliating process, Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate faced some very tough odds when the day began. Before today, he had already lost 2 floor votes for the speakership. In fact, as we told you last night, he lost the second vote by more than the first, which some reports indicate may have been a deliberate strategy by his fellow Republicans in opposition to him to humiliate him on the largest stage possible and make it appear, well, make it a reality, that he was losing support rather than gaining it. Now, Jordan spent most of yesterday trying to reverse that trend, but as Punchbowl News reports, quote, every Republican who met with Jordan told him they would not back his candidacy for House Speaker. And it's not like Jordan and his allies were doing themselves any favors. As we have reported on this program, multiple Republicans told the press they received death threats for not backing Jordan. Those death threats only served to backfire, and it appears increase the resolve of certain Jordan opponents. Even as Punchbowl also reports, listen to this, close Jordan ally Warren Davidson said it's not Team Jordan's fault that holdouts are getting death threats. They are getting the death threats, he said, because they voted against Jordan. I don't think anyone was really disputing that, to be honest. But Jordan was undeterred. He was back at it again today, trying to win the Speaker's gavel, starting with a strange, meandering press conference this morning that even Fox News had difficulty justifying.
So that was Jim Jordan, the Speaker designate, giving a press conference about the status of the Speaker's race. Doesn't look like he has support yet, Brian and Ainsley. I'm not sure what the purpose of the press conference was. He took questions from the folks, but it looks like he's still just trying to rally the troops.
Okay, I don't know what the point was. Everything that we just learned, we knew, except for that Jim Jordan is not quitting.
That was the line at 9 o'clock this morning. Jim Jordan's not quitting. The only thing we knew about Jim Jordan today was that he was not quitting. He was going up for a third crack at becoming Speaker of the House. Now, you'll never guess what happened next.
The total number of votes cast is 429, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 194. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 210.
It's such a funny recurring bit the Democrats do at all these votes when they have more votes than the person they want and they all cheer. So as you can see, Jim Jordan lost again, and yet again he lost by an even larger margin, with more of his colleagues voting against him this time than the previous time, which was more than the previous time. In fact, he got the fewest number of votes from a majority party nominee in a century. Put that in your trivia database. After that humiliating loss, Republicans went back to one of their tense closed-door family meetings where they held a secret ballot intra-party vote to see if Jordan should stay their Speaker designate. Well, the conference decided to dump the 3-time loser Jim Jordan. It is now over. Well, I guess for now. I mean, who knows with this process. But for now, he's done for, and the guy who created this mess is feeling the pain.
The most popular Republican in the United States Congress was just knifed by a secret ballot in a private meeting in the basement of the Capitol. It's as swampy as swamp gets, and Jim Jordan deserved better than that.
I don't know if he's the most popular Republican in the conference, but for most of the Republicans in the closed-door meeting, it was that guy you just saw, Matt Gaetz, and his anti-McCarthy Confederates like South Carolina's Nancy Mace that they were mad at.
Matt Gaetz has very personal differences with Kevin McCarthy. So it's very personal differences, not legislative differences, that led to this. And when he brought the motion, and he was the person that brought the motion, you know, the end result of it is a very dangerous position that we're in as a country.
To me, it reminds me how incredibly irresponsible it was for 208 Democrats and 8 Republicans to put this House into absolute chaos without any kind of a plan for how we were going to move forward. Let's be clear. Nancy Mace, it's been a long time since she's done anything productive to move forward this broader team.
I'll tell you what, I'll pick somebody I definitely don't want to be Speaker, and I'll mention that name.
So, where are we tonight, you ask? Well, good question. Republicans are back exactly where they started when they ditched Kevin McCarthy more than 2 weeks ago. In fact, after Jordan's series of massive defeats, you could argue they are even further away from electing a speaker than they were back then. Because at least after they dumped McCarthy, his heir apparent, Steve Scalise, became the speaker designate. Now, Scalise was sort of the natural heir to the throne, but of course, he couldn't get across the finish line either, and he didn't even try. He dropped out after a day, basically. Jordan was quick to box him out for his own shot at the gavel. Honestly, I don't know what's next for Republicans. There's now like an open call for candidates, like they're putting up flyers to run for high school student government. There's like a slip you fill out to be like, hey, do you want to be speaker? Sure, yeah. If nothing else, I found, and again, I do this for a living, but I'll be honest with you, I found it a great chance to learn about some congressmen you may never have heard before. Like this guy, Oklahoma Republican Kevin Hern. He told reporters today he's running for speaker. He says he's the best choice because he's not a career politician. That is true. Before getting elected in 2018, he built a hog farm. At one point, he also owned 24 McDonald's franchises, as well as a company that manufactures furniture for fast food restaurants. He could be the next speaker. Or how about Michigan Republican Jack Bergman, who's also running? You know Jack Bergman, you know him, you love him. Elected to Congress in 2016 following a lengthy career in the military, more than 2 decades as a commercial airline pilot. When asked if he regretted voting for Donald Trump's attempted coup after January 6th, Bergman told reporters, quote, hell no. And then there is the person I guess you would call the front runner-ish. That's that man. You know him. Right away, you got that name on the tip of your tongue. That is Minnesota's Tom Emmer. Now, despite the fact that I'm guessing most of you have never seen this man before in your life, he is actually now the third-ranking Republican in the House. That makes him the establishment choice for whatever that means. Here's the thing about Tom Emmer. He voted to certify Joe Biden's victory after January 6th. He voted against the coup. That means that he is on that one bright line, red line issue on the right side. He's also been mildly critical of Donald Trump in the past. The problem is that I think the MAGA wing of the party will not be a fan of him for that reason. Now, that's just a little bit of a roundup, not even all the candidates who either declared or are speculating about it. I think since I came up here, we've got a few more new ones throwing their hat in the ring. There are so many Republicans you've likely never heard of who want to run the House of Representatives. Right now, they've all gone home for the weekend, and there's an official candidate forum on Monday, so the list will likely only grow from here. And while I have to say I don't often agree with Kevin McCarthy, I must admit, he kind of hit the nail on the head today.
Unfortunately, Jim is no longer going to be the nominee. We'll have to go back to the drawing board. What history will look at, the Crazy Eights led by Gates, the amount of damage they have done to this party and to this country is insurmountable. I've never seen this amount of damage done to just a few people for their own personalities, for their own fear of what's going through. And really, it's astonishing to me. And we are in a very bad position as a party.
Joining me now is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. You know, sometimes, Ali, I watch something happening in politics and I think to myself, maybe I'm just missing what they're seeing. Maybe they've got a strategy that I don't get. And I guess I sort of thought maybe that was the case with Jim Jordan's speakership bid when last we spoke 24 hours ago, where it was like, well, maybe he's got some, trick up his sleeve. Doesn't look like it. What happened in that meeting after the third failed vote?
You'd be forgiven for thinking there was maybe some divine plan that you weren't read in on. Though I have to tell you, I learned a lot during your introduction, but I especially learned that even though I'm paid for this, I know way too many of those obscure congressmen just by face alone. And so I clearly need to get out of this building. But the fact that lawmakers went home without making any progress whatsoever, I think is so striking. Jim Jordan goes into this meeting this afternoon. He's aware of the fact that he was going to put it to a vote within his conference yet again. The question was simple. Should Jim Jordan remain the guy that we go to the floor again to vote for? People had to vote yes or no, and the no's won out. That then left them at the exact same place that we have frankly been time and again. And I think the only thing that this week has taught us is that this conference is ungovernable, completely unruly. completely factionalized. And I think that they were right early last week, or maybe it was the week before that, when they said that they didn't know anyone in this conference who could get 217 votes. So maybe it's the fact that the 10 people who have their name on the list for wanting to be speaker right now, maybe it's good that those people are not the most popular or the most well-known. Because if you have 97% of the conference behind you, like McCarthy did, like Scalise had slightly less of, but still had the majority of, like Jim Jordan had, they still don't have the number that they need to become speaker. So what's the point? Maybe you don't want to be the most popular or well-known person in this conference. That's clearly not getting you anywhere closer to the gavel. So maybe you do need someone who's obscure and unknown, but I have no idea who that person would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point. The history here, the last time you had something like this, Gingrich, who had to step down in the waning years of Clinton, he was going to succeeded by Bob Livingston, who was sort of the next up lineup. Then it turned out Bob Livingston had also had an extramarital affair, which came out. And then they went to a backbencher named Denny Hastert, who, again, was fairly anonymous, right? There's a whole other story about Denny Hastert there, but that's what happened the last time. We'll see if we get our version of that this time. Ali Vitale, as always, great to talk to you.